What's going on, guys? My name is Roham Carrion. I'm here with Born to How to podcast. I'm here with Alex Hunter, and he's the author of How to Sell Homes for Fast for Top Dollar and a realtor for around 4 years. Alex, out of curiosity, what is it that ignited your hustle?
Originally what ignited my hustle is just the fact that I like to help and protect people. Been doing in and around this industry for a long time, for over 20 years at this point. But my why has changed. What really has kept me in it is my family.
Your family?
I've got a 5-year-old daughter and I've got an 8-year-old son, and really they're my everything. So everything that I do is for them. So that's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me getting up early in the morning and pushing forward, trying to just move the needle a little bit further, is to be able to help and provide for them and give them a better lifestyle than I had.
That's very fair to say. So if that's actually what ignited the hustle, I'm curious, like, when you knew that you were going to become a realtor? Is this something that you wanted to do? Do you feel like this is what it is? Or, like, did you just apply for a job and that's it? And you just like, well, I guess I'm going to do, like, sometimes it just happens that way. Like,
Right. No, originally I knew that I wanted to help people. And like I said, I had met, the first family that I helped find a home. It was just a very fulfilling experience. Never necessarily wanted to be a realtor because I didn't want to work the nights and the weekends. And I wanted to have that for family time and whatnot. But what I realized is a lot of the industries that I've been in through the apartment complex and HOA management and whatnot is that you're still working nights and weekends. You're on call 24/7. So I was like, after actually seeing a coworker of mine get taken advantage of by a developer, and she lost about $100,000 worth of equity in her home over the course of a year. It was a horrible thing. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of trying to fix people's problems on the back end after they come to me. It's like, let me get in front of it and protect them from these problems before, they happen. And so that really is what pushed me to get out of my comfort zone and actually become a realtor.
I mean, what's it called? The real estate developer actually, like, can you explain the story a little bit?
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
actually got me, I know it's a little bit off topic, but that actually got me my curiosity. I'm sorry.
For sure.
I'm a little bit on the, what's it called? A sucker for the tea, aka the gossip.
No, I gotcha. Yeah. So I was actually doing homeowner association management, and one of my coworkers, her husband is in the medical industry. They had found this great new lot. They wanted to build their forever home out kind of north San Antonio, a little bit north of Stone Oak. Development was going on. They found a vacant lot. They had a custom builder that was going to build their custom dream home. This was going to be their forever home, right? And the lot had about 200 feet of greenbelt space behind it. And then on the other side of that greenbelt space, it was zoned for commercial, and the developer owned that as well. And so they had asked the question from the developer to the developer. They had said, "Hey, look, what are y'all planning on doing with that commercial space behind?" Because obviously they want to know what's going to be behind them. And he's, "Yeah, we're going to make a medical plaza out of it." And that's like, great. My husband's in medical sales type of thing. So they ended up purchasing the lot. They ended up hiring, like I said, the custom builder, built their dream home there. Literally about a year later, they moved in. 6 months after they moved in, a Valero was built behind their home, not a medical center. So when the Valero was built behind their home, instantly the equity in their home, their property value dropped by almost $100,000. So this was a little bit about 4.5 years ago. So if you figure a $300,000 home back then is probably about a $600,000 home in today's market type of deal. But imagine, and typically when you build a new home, it appreciates by the time the home is built because the area is developing around it and whatnot. But yeah, you look at a very similar, exact outside but different on the inside home that's 7 houses down, that's kind of around the bend on that same greenbelt that doesn't have the Valero behind them, is still, worth in the 450s, whereas their home had dropped. Was $100,000 less than that just because that Valero was built behind their home. And I probably shouldn't say Valero. I should have said gas station.
You like a gas? Well, the thing is, realistically, we all understand that it's not Valero's fault.
No, it's not Valero's fault at all.
It's just a gas station. But like realistically speaking, you telling me all of that, why does a gas station lower your property value? I mean, I would see it as a win. I have a gas station, like, like I'm about to go to work. I fill up on gas. You see, like the lifestyle, like thinking that I'm going about over here.
Right. The issue with having the gas station behind the house comes to the fact that, and especially with the green space area and wooded areas and whatnot, is that attracts a lot of homeless individuals, and so
Ah,
because it's attracting that behind the house, it's just a perceived negative value of the home.
oh, okay. So that kind of makes sense a little bit. Yeah, because when you mentioned the gas station, the thing is, I live nearby Converse, and there's literally a Valero, like built behind like some homes. So but like the place looks very beautiful though. It looks like a really well thought out, beautiful. They actually invested money on this gas station. So I don't know if it's actually going to invite any homeless people. But yeah, when you mentioned that, I was already thinking like, oh, so you're telling me those people like in their homes, their property value most likely went down because of the gas station being built.
That is what my best guess would be, because there's nothing else that would have affected the home value in the area. And like I said, it wasn't everyone's home value in that area. It was, specific to one or two homes that were right on the other side of that green space from where that gas station was built.
Okay, and you're talking about green space. What does that mean?
So a green space is basically an area where nothing is built. It's typically like a retaining area for water. That's where all the water in the development is directed to flow. That way, there's no flooding within the community. Developers, when they submit their tract, for approval with the city or with the county, they have to have structural engineers go out there, and all of their engineering has to show plans on, hey, when there's rainfall, where is all this water going to go? So a lot of them develop these green space areas in between homes, and it'll be,
Yeah, now I
okay.
understand exactly what you mean. Okay, well, it's the thing is I'm not a real estate professional, so I wouldn't know the proper terminology yet. So that's why I want to ask because I mean I don't know, and probably somebody listening does not know either. But
Right.
now that okay, so because of that story alone, is that what actually made you into a real estate agent and decided to maybe fix something about it? Like, what did that make
That
it?
was the straw that really, made the deciding factor for me to become a realtor. In the HOA industry, I would constantly hear people's issues. They would buy a new home in a community, and you know, no one had told them, hey, by the way, they. I'll give you a perfect example. There's master plan communities, and then there's associations that are all part of that master plan community.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to mention any names of communities, but for example, you might have a master plan community that has 5 or 6 different smaller HOAs within it. They might have an amazing amenity center with, a pool and a splash pad and slides and fitness centers and on-site management and monthly activities and all this great stuff that people are looking for because they want to have a lifestyle of community, nowadays. And someone might buy a home within a particular homeowners association that is part of that master plan community, and then they would call me up and they would say, hey, I want to get access, to the amenity center. And I'd have to be the one to say, hey, well, unfortunately, you're part of a community that does not buy into that, so you don't have access to that. And no one knew, no one looked to read any of the documents, no one gave them any advice. Just it's not anyone's necessarily fault, but it's just lack of knowledge. No one knew to ask these things; they just assumed. So now they just dropped $250,000, $300,000 on a house because they wanted to have this lifestyle of being able to use this amenity center that they now don't have access to. So that's just one of a million different examples that I can give. But really, the straw that broke the camel's back was my friend that lost a lot of money on the equity of her home.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. If I actually buy a house and it turns out that I did it for a specific amenity and I don't have access to it, there's the amount of salt.
Yep,
Like the amount of salt. Like I will not be okay with that whatsoever. I don't even know if you can get out of it right away because I'm not a
you can't.
homeowner yet. Like I basically oh my lord, dude, I can imagine the salt. Like
And that's the biggest problem. And one of the biggest tips that I can give anyone is look, if you're buying a home within a homeowners association, which now all new communities have to be a homeowners association, it's a state law. at this point. But if you're buying a home within a homeowners association, you need to make sure to review that resale packet that's going to have copies of all of the governing documents, what's included, what's expected, everything like that. In there, it's going to say if you have access to the amenity center or not.
Oh, okay. And is it legit becoming a natural law, like an actual state
It's
law?
been a natural law, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but since 1998,
Hmm.
all new developments all new tracts that are platted out to be a subdivision
Yeah,
are required by the state of Texas to have an HOA that manages them.
interesting.
Now, if
Well,
the tract was developed prior to 1998, or if the tract was submitted and approved prior to 1998, but maybe the developer just sat on it for 20 years and never actually started building houses, then they wouldn't be required to. But anything new after, I believe it's 1998, is required to.
do you think HOA is actually beneficial for the like when it comes to actually becoming a homeowner in the real estate market?
I would say, and this is a very hot topic and hot debate, and 90% of the conversations I have with people when they hear that I did HOA, I can't stand my HOA, and truly, I think HOAs are a beneficial thing for a couple reasons. It does help to maintain your property value. It does try and keep consistency within the community and keep everyone's property values up. You don't want a home next to you to be so outlandish that it's affecting your value and you don't have anything to do. The problem with a lot of HOAs, though, is that their governing documents don't give the authority for the HOA to really give enough bite. And what I mean by that is, a lot of homeowners associations documents don't provide like fining policies or real, resolutions that are going to essentially help enforce those rules other than sending them a letter and whatnot. And honestly, even fining doesn't work because you're fining someone and it just basically sticks on their bill. So yeah, it's really, really hard as a not-for-profit because all HOAs are not-for-profits and they're run by voluntary boards. It's really, really hard to enforce some of those policies unless you really get a good bite, have a good attorney, and then it's a crapshoot depending on what judge you get if you do end up having to file a suit and go to court for it. But I will say a lot of people that have had me when I was in that industry, your HOA, really, whether you like it or hate it, is going to depend on the board that you have and the manager that you have. If you have a board that really cares and is just trying to do the right thing and understands that a lot of these rules and laws and everything like that, all of these guidelines were written 10, 15 years ago if it's an older community, and the world changes. And it's really, really hard to change some of these rules and guidelines once they have become kind of written and in place. But a lot of them do need to get amended over time just because, again, things change. We didn't have Airbnbs 15 years ago. 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, no. The thing is, I heard so much controversial stuff. Some people love some. I hate more. I think the hate stories are a lot more louder than the good stories, and I think that's exactly what it is. Because if you look on social media, some people assume that we as a society we're not the smartest generation, quote unquote. However, if you look at the statistics, that's not true at all.
Right.
So like they always say, like the hate or the how to do it without how to say this in a PG-13 language. Actually, I was gonna say the D word, but I was like, nah. But like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
the not so intelligent side of the species, it tends to be a lot louder. And
Right.
because of that alone, I was just wondering, in your perspective, since you were former HOA, and now that you're becoming a realtor, if anything, I feel like that's a beautiful combo. Honestly,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
it's a very what's the right word, ancillary like background knowledge to have, and then you becoming a realtor. I feel like, and I don't know if you can agree with this. Would you agree that because of that background alone, you are a little bit different than the average realtor? That you can actually give more proper, you know what, in business, I always tell my salesmen to be doing the proper disclosures. Would you say that? Like, would you say that you do the proper disclosures?
Absolutely, and just with the experience and the history that I've had with that, it helps me to have a different perspective. It helps me to know what questions to ask for because a lot of people just don't know
Mhm.
unless you've been in that industry. You don't know
Exactly.
what to ask for,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the case with my friend that lost $100,000 in equity. She didn't know that. Hey, you needed to get it in writing, and I told her I was like, hey. was there anything in writing? Was there any marketing material that said that there was going to
Mm.
be? And there was nothing. So unfortunately, she didn't have any recourse.
Oh Lord. And sometimes there is trust, and maybe the real estate developer, maybe that's he didn't lie. I don't know what to tell you, but
Right.
um, honestly, I'm a lot more okay with that instance compared to the person buying a house and not having access to the amenity.
Right.
Yeah, like if I can take a nail every now and then, but buying something and I get the amenity, dude, I can already imagine so many salt stories. I bet that person did not say, "Oh, thank you for letting me know, sir. Have a good." No, I'm pretty sure he cursed you out. I'm pretty sure he gave you a hard time.
And yeah, and not just one. I mean that was a weekly type of occurrence, and yeah, they're definitely not happy with it whatsoever. Sometimes they could put it on the realtor if the realtor promoted that it had, like the listing agent had taken pictures of the amenity center and the pool and everything
Mm.
and put it on a listing for a house that's in a community that doesn't have access to that.
Mhm.
Then there's potential recourse against, and I'm not an attorney, but I seek an attorney's, advice. But I would say that there's potential liability there for that listing agent. But doing the due diligence as like a buyer's agent, you know, uh, the 1 to 4 family contract that's promulgated by TREC that most realtors use, unless they're buying a new property in a new subdivision, and they're not required to use that, and you normally go with a builder's contract. But that requires that resale packets be provided to the buyer a minimum of 3 days prior to closing. And in that resale packet, the problem is no one takes the time to read it because that resale packet can be 30 to 50 pages long.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Um,
Yeah, I'm not gonna read that.
exactly. And a lot of it is written by attorneys. So it's all in legal, type of
Mm-hmm.
jargon. And so, yeah, a lot of people get it and they don't ever read it. Or even worse, they don't get it. But when you go to the title company, one of the things the title company typically is going to do is they're going to have you sign one of the first papers they're going to have you sign is an acknowledgement of receipt that you received, X, Y, and Z, and you're just happy to get your home. So you're just going through just, sign away. Yeah, I got this. Yeah, I got it. You don't even know, what it is because people aren't taking the time to go through and read things. They're just all excited about what they're getting.
I mean, I'm not gonna judge them whatsoever because buying a house is not the same thing as buying groceries.
Right.
We're
It's
talking
not.
about like we're talking about potentially. I mean, bringing your children, having their own room. We're talking about like now. I feel like that's a humongous first milestone for every family because
Absolutely.
we're talking about the single family dream. Now it's not just about just renting. We're talking about you guys are in a house. Like this is where you're gonna grow up. Like this is it, bro. Like that's literally the most commitment about settling to a location as you can get. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
know you can move. Yes, you can rent, and yes, there's other alternatives. Blah 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 blah. But when we're talking about the average individual, I can see the average individual, in my own opinion, because again, I'm not a realtor, but I can imagine the average individual being with the emotion, being with this experience. Like, dude, I cannot believe I'm qualifying for a house right now,
Yeah.
especially in today's market. I mean, dude, it's only gonna get more difficult.
Yep.
So for anybody who's thinking about buying a house, I would recommend you to start the process because they're not gonna get any cheaper. Interest rates, they're not gonna get lower. And maybe they will, maybe not. Who freaking knows? But they're definitely not gonna go back to the way they used to be. They're never gonna go back at 2%.
I can definitely agree with you there. I mean, everything has its ebbs and flows, and yeah, market corrections happen, and things go down, and then they go back up. But if you look at historical trends, houses are more expensive than they were, 5 years ago. But even prior to COVID, houses, 5 years ago were more expensive than houses were 10 years ago. So on the short term, you might see the ebbs and flows of going up and down, but over the long term, the appreciation is still a gain.
Exactly. So, and not only that, either way, I forgot. I have a conversation with a realtor once upon a time that even if you have the money, even if you qualify, even if you have all the paperwork, it's still not gonna be a next week kind of deal.
No, it's definitely not going to be a next week
It's
type deal.
gonna
I mean,
take like a month or two or something like that. I don't remember the exact amount time frame, but like even if you qualify and you're ready, it still wouldn't be immediate.
even if you did a cash deal, you're still probably looking at 14 days, and that's without an appraisal.
Yeah,
If you have an appraisal, unfortunately, the pool of appraisers is still relatively low, and so a lot of appraisal companies are backed up, and that's typically the longest portion of the actual closing process is getting that appraisal done. Most homes, depending on the type of appraisal they have to get based on the type of financing that they're getting, most homes can typically close within 25 to 45 days. Now, something, for example, like a USDA loan, that's going to take 45 days. That's a guarantee just because there's so many steps in their process to be able to get qualified for a USDA loan. Whereas like an FHA loan, you can probably push 25 would be, I'd say, the earliest, typically 30, 35, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So basically, the pattern that I'm seeing that you cannot buy a house by tomorrow. So
Right.
again, and I only got that advice from another realtor. He literally told me, Roham, if you're thinking about becoming a homeowner anytime soon, you should definitely start the process. Even if you don't qualify credit wise, like you should definitely start the journey because they're gonna basically work with you for you to qualify. And it can be a year, it could be 2 years, but basically just start.
Yeah, and that's what I recommend to everyone that I work with. I was like, you want to start looking at things a year before you're ready to actually go out there and buy. So you want to pull your credit report. There's all sorts of places you can get your credit report, for free. You got Credit Karma, but then you got creditreport.com, which is the official, one. It doesn't give you your scores, but it'll show you anything that's on your report. So you can see if there's anything that you need to correct or any errors that you need to fix or whatnot. And don't get me wrong, like you want to start that a year in advance because it could take anywhere from 3 to 12 months to get those things that are erroneous off of your credit to be able to up your score. And the higher you can get your score within that year, the better terms you're going to get, the more money you're going to save. And we're not talking about saving $1,000, $2,000. We're talking about saving tens of thousands of dollars based on your credit score because your interest rates are based
Yeah.
on your credit score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be a finance professional, so like honestly, the interest rates what actually makes the dramatic amount is what really changes. Like it could be $300,000, but the interest rates will make the difference between paying $1,000 a month to $1,400 a month,
Absolutely.
even though the original principal of the cost is the same.
Yeah.
But the interest rate alone is the reason why the monthly payment is much higher.
Right.
And the interest rate is also the reason why most of it is actually going towards the actual, the interest rate itself rather than the actual paying off the principal of the actual loan. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Like you want to basically, because if you think about it, right, and this is something I've learned this a long time ago and I like telling, everybody like that I talk to, you need to see your interest rate as your cost when you're borrowing money. Because the money is not yours.
Right.
It's the bank's money using your credit, right? And that's something I need to teach other people when they're making sales. Whenever you're doing a sale, don't get financially greedy. I know there's high commissions, but at the end of the day, that's not your money. That is the bank's money using somebody else's credit. So humble yourself, basically.
Right.
Because I know some people be like, oh man, and this is mostly in the world of contracting. Because when I did contracting with Sires, I've noticed that some, and they especially in the Valley. Not trying to throw any shade to South Texas, but in the Valley, I remember when, I seen some of them like, dude, I got $10,000 or $14,000 or $20,000. And I say, hey, remember that money is going back towards the client and you're actually pocketing $3,000. I can see their face or they're tempted of not keeping their promise and just pocketing the $20,000 in commissions, quote unquote, regardless of what they promise. Number one, that's unethical. But number two, you need to understand that is not your money.
Right.
That is the bank's money using their credit.
Right.
So I forgot what the point I was making with this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got in the moment. Sorry, that was actually one of the things I love to preach. Oh yeah, the interest.
We were talking
rates.
about interest rates.
Yes,
Right.
1,000%. So when it comes to interest rate, you need to see that is the cost of when you borrow money, and whenever you see dividends, that's basically how much they're paying you when you give your money.
Right.
That's how I see stocks and stuff like that, or CDs or whatever. So yeah, whenever you look at the interest rate, you need to look at it as like, okay, how much is this bank charging me for using their money? So some people, when they look at the interest rates, they're not paying attention to it because they're more focused on qualifying on the loan itself rather than the actual interest rate. And I think people should actually care about the interest rate because that's exactly how much they're charging you.
Right. And a lot of people are just focused on, and they teach you in a lot of these, sales places, whether you're selling houses, not as a realtor, but like as like a new home builder or a car salesman, you teach people not to focus so much on the interest rate, but to come in and focus on the payments. Oh, I can get you this and the payment is this. No, because, you could potentially get a much lower payment, even though this was the payment that you wanted around. If you get a better interest rate, you could actually get it under that. But all they're worried about is focusing on the payment. One other tip that I would say, as far as, starting a year in advance, looking at your credit score, trying to fix all that, but also start saving your money for the down payment. You know, um, if you have to apply and if you have to go through like a first time home buyer program, problem with a lot of those programs is they have a higher interest rate because they're trying to recoup the money that
Mm-hmm.
they're putting down for your down payment. So yeah, you can get zero down payment and everything like that, but now you're going to have a 1% higher interest rate, which over the life of the loan. So let's say that they put down, $10,000 for you towards closing cost,
Mm-hmm.
but that extra 1% interest rate is going to add up to $30,000, $40,000 over the life of a 30-year term. So is it really worth it? So if you can start a year in advance and you start putting money away and save up for that down payment and those closing costs, then that's another thing that I would recommend doing. And then finally, don't even apply for any new types of credit a year out before you're ready to buy your home. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people, they're going, they got pre-approved to go and buy a home, and then 2 weeks before they're closing, they turn around and they go and finance, $5,000 worth of new furniture. All
Mm.
right. And that might not be a big deal if their debt to income ratio is really good and that additional expense doesn't put them over the cap. But if someone does that's borderline, qualifying for the size of the loan they want for the house that they want, and they go out and they finance that $5,000 worth of new furniture for the house, and it turn around and it tips them over their debt to income ratio, the entire deal is squashed. There's no way to fix it, and then they don't qualify and then they don't close. And now they're upset because no one told them, hey, don't go and get new furniture, until after you've closed, after you sign those documents, then by all means, go out and get new furniture. Go out and get that new car that you've been wanting to get for the last 2 or 3 years. Go out and, get new credit cards, whatever you want to do. But a year before you're intending to close on a house, don't apply for any new, type of credit unless you're trying to build credit, and then you should seek a credit counselor's advice, expertise, and recommendation before doing that.
Yeah, yeah, more or less. I have mixed feelings about them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that alone, yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. And now that I understand what ignited the hustle, you kind of answered already what kept you in it. You mentioned your family. You mentioned, I don't know if you want to expand more into it, or maybe because I noticed that there's not never always just one reason. There's always multiple things piling up at the same time. And that's why I get annoyed whenever I get in an argument with a lady. They always assume there's only one. No, there's always multiple things at the same time. So, if there's any other reason that kept you in the house by any chance that you haven't mentioned, I understand your family. I,
My family keeps me in it, but ultimately, like, I love helping people. I like to protect people. Like, I it gets me heated. I get very, very peed off when I see people being taken advantage of,
mm,
taken advantage of by another company, being taken advantage of by a system, uh, inadvertently being taken advantage of just because uh, someone didn't know to ask these questions or didn't know to tell them something like that. So between my family and liking to help people and wanting to protect people, that's really all there is.
okay. It sounds like you want to prevent bad stories to happen, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. That's why I love doing proper disclosures because you might be ethical, and the fact that you're already ethical, you're already halfway there compared to the competition.
Right.
And then, would you say that you do, exactly what you said you're gonna do?
Always.
Okay, so you're already
And
not.
if I don't, I own up to it. If there was some extenuating circumstance, and I promised someone this or I promised someone that, and for whatever reason, something outside of my control, and hey, I'll be the first to apologize, and what can I do to make it right?
Okay, 1,000%. I completely agree. Now, a little bit off topic, but what inspired you to write this book?
Uh, to be honest with you, everyone talks about the market, especially since interest rates started going up, middle end of last year, and everyone's like, oh, you can't get a lot of money, or I see a lot of people that are missing out on getting a lot of money, for their homes that they're selling. And I've talked to a lot of realtors, and a lot of realtors are like, oh no, we only do that, for higher end, clients, and I'm like, well, why? And so basically, what I've done is I've taken a lot of the tips and the tricks that a lot of the higher end homes representation uses, And I basically put that into a book. And at Your Realty Group, we actually offer all of these things that come inclusive, with the exception of like there's an additional fee for staging or whatnot. But some of the simplest things that everyone should do. Cleaning is free. Go through and clean up your house. Decluttering is free. Depersonalizing is free. It takes your time, but making your house more presentable, making it more open, that's all stuff that you can do yourself. But outside of that, what things you can sell, little DIY things that help to increase a home's value. In this day and age, technology is a huge thing. So, if you still got the old clicker doorbell, go and upgrade and get yourself a Ring doorbell or something with a video doorbell on it. If you're still rocking the, 1990s, thermostat with the little slider and doesn't have a digital thing on it, or even if it does have one, go get yourself a smart thermostat, go get a Nest or an Akobe 4, whatever the latest, model is, little things like that people are wanting now. People want ways to make their life easier, to make their life more efficient, to make it to where they don't have to think about it. They can just set it and forget it, So doing these little projects that most of them you can do yourself, it talks about some of those. Making a great first impression with curb appeal, huge thing. Making sure that you've got nice grass, If you're looking to sell your house and it's not like something that you've got to, you need to sell it tomorrow, and that goes for selling too. If you're thinking about selling your house, I would say, start planning that a year in advance. That way you can get everything going. I've got a couple right now that I'm working with that I haven't listed their house yet because they're still in the preparation stages of getting it ready to list. They're not in any hurry. They don't need to be in any hurry, so it helps. So, I started working with them 2 months ago, and we're probably not going to list their house until April of next year, which gives them enough time to get everything fixed up, get everything done, and then we'll do part of our marketing strategy is we do a 3D Matterport virtual tour. So someone that has VR goggles can go in and look and physically like walk through the place and see everything. It's all high definition, so it's not like you're trying to hide like little things in corners and whatnot, which is a great tool, especially to reach those people that aren't local to this area. That's one thing that we do. There is virtual staging, so we can actually literally go in and empty out your entire house and then turn around and restage it and maybe, move some of the furniture around or virtually declutter it if you don't want to do it yourself. There is an additional cost for that. But as far as like the virtual tour itself, that's all included with every listing that I have. You get a 3D dollhouse image, you get a 2D floor plan that you can do measurements on. And again, you get a cinematic video. All of these things are like the newest trends in the real estate industry that a lot of the higher end homes that do sell for more, the realtors, the listing agents for them, they're using this. Why? Because you can reach a broader audience from out of state, and with all of the states, moving to Texas because we're such a great state here, it really helps with that. So the cost of these things have also come down quite a bit as well. So, I've talked to realtors that, I don't do it unless I have a house that's, $500,000 or more. Well, I'll do it for a house that is $250,000 starter home. Why? Because I'm reaching a broader audience.
I completely agree with that. 1,000. When you mentioned the virtual goggles, not trying to say that I would DIY this, but what's the brand? Is it Quest? Is it
So I will tell you the Quest 2 virtual goggles are what I use.
I have those.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, I wanted to know if I could do the same thing because that
Yes,
sounds cool
you
as
can.
heck.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a perfect example, man. Let's say that I do a listing, and I've got the 3D virtual tour, and I'm marketing out to the states that are still moving here. So New York, California, Washington State, Michigan. A lot of these states are coming here just because of our lifestyle and a lot of other things. But let's say that they don't have VR goggles, you can go and get cardboard box Google goggles. You can Google this, all right? It's about $10 for a thing. As a realtor, I can order those online from Amazon, have it shipped to the potential buyer's house if they're interested. It's going to cost me all of $10 to go and send it to them if they're truly interested. and they can put their cell phone inside these cardboard Google, VR glasses, and they can do it, if they don't have a VR set already.
Oh, okay. That is definitely like an inside tip,
For sure.
1000%. Okay, so for those of you who are realtors, take notes. That's not spending. Yeah, because honestly, I was like, the Quest is like I forgot how much I pay for it. Honestly, 300, I guess.
They're about $300
I
now.
don't remember. I really don't remember. It's been a while. I don't even know what's today's market, but I know when it was brand new, it was around $300, and
Right.
I mean it's great.
Right.
It's freaking great. But I don't know if how many of us I can be. It can be a 19-year-old starting the real estate industry, and he doesn't have $300 to do something like that.
Right.
Because nowadays, if it's when it comes to being modern practice, sometimes I feel it's because we're slowly transitioning to the new generation, actually becoming the old generation.
Right.
So eventually, I'm gonna be the old guy, and whoever the heck is in middle school is gonna be like the new guy. Like he's like, oh, right now I'm complaining with the economy. Eventually, it will be his turn.
Right.
And then I'll be like, oh, you kids, when I was old, I worked by 40 hours. Like, like eventually it will be my turn,
Yep.
acting like whatever the heck the older generation does, and I cannot wait for it, man. I'm complaining for a living. Oof. I'm
Hashtag first world problems, right?
exactly. It's like, oh, look at this guy only working 40 hours. Back in my day, we work 80.
Yep.
And it's not really it's school plus work and whatnot. But like, but yeah, that definitely sounds like a pro insider tip because I feel like it sells the vision and it does the presentation for you. And when it comes to sales, is there something that I always preach is focus on the presentation and the sale will come. If you focus on the sale, you're gonna have what is called commission breath. And obviously, I'm not saying that people can feed from that, but it definitely changes everything that when it comes to your C factors. It's a different like a sales term, but like when it comes to your the factors that is projected, it's gonna be noticeable because you're focused on the sale. You're not
Right.
focused on the presentation. If you focus on the presentation and you didn't get the sale, go guess what, bro? He was just not your customer.
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
My philosophy with everything I've done is just, hey, go out there, be myself. You're not gonna, win everyone over, but for the personalities that click, if they like me, and I show that I genuinely care about them and I'm genuinely trying to help them, the business will follow.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I don't 1000% agree with that. Yeah, because I forgot exactly what I was gonna say once again, dude. I'm like 20 different points because there's so many different questions I want to ask you, but we don't have 3 hours. You know what I mean? So I'm just
Yeah.
like, which one am I gonna pick? That's
Right.
exactly where I'm standing from, because in today's market, especially for the younger generation, unfortunately, it's not that easy. Chances are the wife is gonna be working as well. That means there's gonna be double income.
Yep.
If there's only gonna be one person working, chances are that person is doing very, very, very well. Either a very well hourly job, or most likely they. If anything, I've noticed that is being either both of them are doing double income, both of them are working, or one of them is working, but either it's gonna be a primary job and multiple side hustles, or a
Right.
primary job and then like a business,
Right.
or is a business owner.
Right.
That's what I've noticed as a finance professional, not as a realtor. I noticed that every single person is when it comes to their financial goals and stuff like that, they're mostly either double income, which is very ideal in today's age. Like, unfortunately, I don't know how to say this. I mean, it's kind of controversial politically speaking, but there's not gonna be the individual at the house. It could be the man or the woman. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right.
But the idea of somebody being at the house is becoming rare. In a way, it does concern me though, because it doesn't bring.
That
It's,
definitely concerns me.
it concerns me not on the affordability aspect or stuff like that. I'm all about following your own ambition. I'm all about, working as a career because I feel like that brings purpose. But that's just for me though. I don't know about anybody else. But if there's something that I've learned was the ability of one parent, or if not a parent, actually giving all the time for their kids.
Right. And I think that that's why society is kind of heading the way that we are right now, is because it is kind of molded to where and people are forced to have, a dual income, role where both parents are out working and not able to spend the time and attention that they need. And of course that's a real controversial issue as well. But
It,
that's just my personal beliefs. Is
that's
that
my
hey,
personal belief too, dude. I
yeah,
mean, I have kids.
yeah,
I'm no, I can kind of see it right now. I'm not with my partners, I'm a single dad, but Leslie,
hats off to you.
I should have not said the name. But anyways, she has to work. Even if we're together, we both need to work. But she has this I forgot this one lady. She focused on moms and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't remember, but she's a type of consultant slash coach when it comes to moms, and
Right.
she taught me about moms guilt, and it's something that females. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yep.
I didn't know what it is until like last week. I kid you not, I just learned this. Apparently, there's such thing as mom's guilt, and my ex partners, it's the very definition of it. She genuinely feels guilty that she
Working.
has to work,
Yep.
or she's overworking, or she's not present for my son.
Yep.
Like, not like she genuinely. I don't feel the guilt because I know what my role will be. I know that I'm trying to provide for you. I know that I want to give you private education, so I need to get to work.
Right.
Period. Like, there's no other way around it. I need to
Right.
get to work, so I don't feel that guilt. But I wonder how many, especially moms, right? The dad, obviously, we feel it too, but we're talking about specifically the mom.
Yeah, I think it definitely hits mothers a lot harder.
Yeah, because mothers, they definitely. I mean, not saying, not speaking for everyone, of course, but I noticed that the mother normally has the vision in regards to how they want to be with their kids.
Right.
Normally, right? Not saying that applies to everything. Not trying to generalize anything, but Leslie definitely has it. My ex partner definitely has it. She
Right.
1000%. And I'm just, now that makes me wonder how many, you know, the rest of the
Right.
populace, like how many are feeling just like her?
I think the one benefit that has come from COVID
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that it has made working from home more of a mainstream, which has
Mm-hmm.
also helped to alleviate some of that guilty mom syndrome. Because now you know a lot of moms can work from home, and can go and pick up their kids from school and bring them back home, and even though they still have to focus on their job, at least physically they're present. So if something happens or if their kids need something, they can, 5 minutes and turn and go, adjust the situation. Not saying that eliminates the guilt altogether, but I definitely think it has helped alleviate some of that stress.
I mean, hopefully the economy, not saying that it will be fixed, but hopefully that will not become I hope eventually the double income will not be a permanent requirement. That's the keyword, not permanent. Because realistically speaking, I don't know what will be the long term consequences of that. Children not getting the attention that they actually require.
Right.
And realtors, you guys play a role at that, bringing families, allowing them to have a home. And some people say that you don't need a home, you can do the same thing with an apartment. Of course you can. House is basically where the family is, but the home, when you build that, is that emotional, which that's
Yeah.
why you have realtors telling you all the legal disclosures, because the customer's most likely in a very emotional state, and they're most
Always.
focused on the vision of the family, the vision of being in a single family dream on a home, than the
Right.
technicalities.
Yeah. And
They
for a
only
lot of
care
these
about
people,
the technicalities if it disqualifies you.
right. Yeah. And a lot of these people, they're looking at this as their first home. This is the beginning of them creating, a legacy for their children, their generations to come. That's one of the big things for me is like when I'm representing someone, I'm not looking out for them like as far as just their short-term goals. I'm asking them, hey, what are your long-term goals as well? What do you plan on doing, with a home 5, 10, 15 years down the road? Because I want to try and help protect them, down the road as well, to help set them up and set that foundation up for them to be able to create generational wealth. And you can Google it and you can look time and time again. A lot of generational wealth is built through real estate.
Yeah. I mean, real estate is one of those few investments that actually grows as inflation goes up.
Yeah.
It's one of those few. Not saying that obviously is the answer, but yeah. And besides, most millionaires, they actually go into real estate. It's just very safe. Land is very safe, more or less. I don't know. I don't know everything, of course. I know everything. I know enough to talk about it, but not as a professional. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Because I know, for instance, right now, I do want to get rental properties, but not because I want it as an income, not because I want to make more money, not because I want to be able to sustain myself financially. It's because that's actually my retirement plan.
Exactly.
Like literally, I
That's
want to
mine.
get at least 8 properties, And that's another actually complication right there because we have a house shortage and there's people like us. But then again, we're like you gotta work for it. You know, if I
Of
actually
course.
manage to work for it and I get 8 houses and somebody didn't, don't want to be mean, but hey man, you should probably go to
Hustle.
work. You know, and I know I will probably get hate from that, but like I don't know what else to tell you, bro. Like there's no other secret formula. You get
Yep.
it. You get what you put in.
Yep.
I took the risk. I went out there, and that's actually cool. I want to get to 8 houses because I don't know the numbers by memory like I used to. But apparently, if you do 8 houses, chances are by the time you're 65 or 67, which is more or less about the average retirement
Retirement
age,
age.
it will give me a six-figure income of retirement or the equivalent of a six-figure income by the time I'm 67. So maybe it will look, excuse me, maybe it will look like $400,000 a year. And you'll be like, wow, man, ya la tienes, like you're already good. Nope. Maybe $400,000 a year is the equivalent of 100,000 on
Yeah,
today's
because of
market.
inflation. Right.
So because of inflation. Well, who knows? Or maybe the currency eventually we're getting so much into the thousands, they'll be like, you know what, let's just hit a restart. You know, let's just pretend that 1,000 is $10, even though realistically it's the equivalent. I don't freaking know.
Right.
But like because of that alone, that's the reason why I do the A property. Get one house. If anything, it's the reason why my first home, I'm not being very picky about it because it's not my forever home. I
Right.
see this home, it's like, I like it, I love it, I'm going to rent it.
Yep.
12 months from now, I'm going to see if I can get another one. And 12
Yep.
months from now, I'm going to see if I can get another one. That will be the strategy, more or less. And then I'm going to do what is called the snowball effect, but not for
Mhm.
the debt side, but for like whatever the rental income is making me. Again, it's not intended for me to start living from it.
Right.
That's the key word right there. It is just becoming a
It's an
pool.
asset building up.
Exactly. It's becoming a pool, and with the very rental income that is making me, is the same income that I'm gonna use for the next property. And then it's the same strategy I did with the Airbnb area. But like, it's hopefully once I get to 8, I will be happy.
Yep.
I if I get the ninth, it was a YOLO move. You know, it was like whatever move. Like as long as I get 8, I think my portfolio with the trust and all of the technicalities that obviously I'm not gonna be talking about it right now. But I already have the whole plan already set up, and I'm just here like once I have that set up, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I'll be
Well,
Gucci.
be happy along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey because that's a lot of people. Think success is a destination, and that's what I've had to teach myself. Because I've gotten knocked down multiple times. And had to restart things, and I just got to get up one more time. Then I get knocked down, and I don't got to get discouraged. I just got to get up and keep trying to push the needle forward.
No, 1,000%. 1,000%. I think success is more like what like is your own definition.
Absolutely,
I notice some people on the 9 to 5, and they're very happy with it.
absolutely.
And if that's you being happy, you can still retire. You just need to learn how to do the 401k technique because a lot of people get into retirement IRAs and they don't actually do rollovers. If you have a job and you left the job and you already did contributions,
Got to get it rolled over.
you need to start rolling them over because um, if you do the math from the very beginning to the age of 65, yes, it will give you a very beautiful number. But I've noticed that especially the younger generation, even the old generation, even my dad, dude. I mean, I don't know. Even my dad, they work for different companies. They did the contributions. My dad say it doesn't work, but you know why it doesn't work? Because he didn't roll over any of them. It's the compound. Again, it's that little compound, that beautiful contribution, and then the compound on top of that that actually makes a difference.
Right.
If you're just doing different accounts, well, I don't know what to tell you. Compounding $300, it's not gonna be the same amount of gains to a, you know, forty
Couple thousand.
thousand.
Right.
So it still works. I noticed that some individuals, especially nowadays in social media, they want to see, oh, I want to be successful by having a six-figure income. If you're happy with 50,000 and you're in a specific lifestyle, then just be happy.
Yep.
Don't stress
Absolutely.
about it.
Absolutely.
1,000%. Don't stress about it. What is your? I mean, I know some guys. For me, I don't understand this. They're okay with getting us like not trying to give people that work for HEB any trash. But I remember this one individual told me, I'm a manager at HEB, and he's very happy with it. I'm like, I'm happy for you. And he's like, you should do the same thing, man. They got programs, they got this. I'm like, no, 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 no. You be happy over there. I like my entrepreneurship. I like
Absolutely.
this variety. I prefer this, to be honest. Even if it makes me less money, because there are times I work 100 hours a week and I don't see a single paycheck, I still don't regret it
Right.
because the adventure is definitely there. Now, the reward is also there too. It's just that sometimes you don't get it, sometimes you definitely get it, sometimes it's a maybe, sometimes you figured it out. So now, now that we understand what made you into the hustle, what kept you in the hustle, and I appreciate the little insight in regards to getting into the modern, like, like the little Google stuff and this little
Absolutely.
book, How to Sell Homes Fast for Top Dollars. I appreciate the book as well. I feel like that's gonna help a lot. And this is specifically for the seller, right? The individual selling a
That's
home.
specifically for sellers, yes.
Okay, so it's
I've
more.
got two other books out on my website as well. One of them's for buyers, kind of compares pre-existing homes versus new builds, and then I also have a book to help veterans buy and what type of programs are available for veterans.
Oh yeah, because there's a lot of stuff for us, but at the same time, it's like all over the place.
Yeah.
Aren't you gonna do a fourth one anytime soon or something? Oh,
I
you're
am.
planning
I'm
on it.
I'm I'm working on a fourth one right now, and that's more of a DIY book on what things you can do to bring value to your home. Because a lot of people read this and there's tips and tricks in there, but this one's more going to expand on what types of DIY projects, what to invest in, what not to invest
Mm-hmm.
in. A lot of people. They'll live in a house for 20 years and then they'll want to sell it and then they'll turn around and put $20,000 worth of rehabs into it to get it up to standards to turn around and sell it. And I'm like, why did you just waste that 20,000? First of all, your ROI, your return on investment may not be 100% there. You might only get 70 or 80% back, but they have to do it to keep up with, the industry standards to be competitive around what else is around them.
Mm-hmm.
My philosophy when I talked to my wife was like, look, we're upgrading our house when we move into it. We're going to enjoy it for 10 or 15 years, and then we're not going to have to upgrade it, when we move out of it. But it's pointing out what to upgrade, what not to upgrade, when to do the upgrades, different trends, how long those trends stay around. For example, one of them was the subway tile backsplashes in your kitchen. People are getting away from subway tiles now. The gray tones, paintings and floors. I love that. My house
Yeah,
has got gray flooring and it's got gray with a light blue paint on the walls.
it just feels modernistic. I love it.
It does. It does. But, apparently statistics are saying that trend is starting to go away now.
What?
And people are wanting more pop and bright and exaggerated colors that just kind of just like scream out at you, And of course,
Oh,
everyone's got their own personal preference. So you're still going to find those people, that want those, other things. But yeah, when I read the article on that, I was like, wow, this is strange because this is what I love. Like I made my house specifically for this for a reason.
again, bro, we're like I told you, eventually the middle schoolers, and we're gonna be the old
Yep.
people, and so on and so on. Like we're basically gonna face that. I'm looking with my modern house, all white and the gray, and I'm just like, dude, this is what a house supposed. And then these guys are like, nah, man, like look at this rainbow. Like I'm just like, oh well, to each his own.
Right.
You're paying for it. That's what you
Exactly.
want.
Right.
No,
Right.
I felt like it was actually when it comes to and sooner or later we have to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
like I remember, what was I gonna tell you? We're actually going through the electrification era. So I feel like one of those things are storage batteries. I noticed that there's gonna be more smart home appliances, wireless appliances. It's actually becoming a thing apparently with QI technology. We already have that technology on the phones. Now they're talking about that.
So I've got a
Panels.
wireless dishwasher that my wife doesn't even use it, but I got her a wireless dishwasher that connects to our Amazon or our Alexa rather, so she can like set it or tell Alexa, hey Alexa, start the dishwasher, so that way it
Oh
was
yeah.
done. Or
Well, by wireless, I was actually talking about like it doesn't need an actual what do you call it in
oh,
English?
plug.
Yeah,
I
it
got
doesn't
you.
need
I
a
got you.
plug.
Oh wow.
Yeah, QI
Yeah, I
technology.
got
So
you.
when you charge your phone and you put it in this little panel right here,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
they're actually talking about potentially doing like instead of like it's like a port, and then that's it.
Gotcha.
So that
Gotcha.
way, it's continuously only using the energy exactly what it needs. And even though it already has that one thing, I read the article about it, and I don't. It was like months ago, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you the details
Right. Right.
specifically. If anything, if I can attach it to this episode so people can look at it, so they have an idea about it. But yeah, it's really cool stuff. But the point is, it requires energy.
Right.
Eventually, by 2030, by 2035, all manufacturers must have some type of EV lineup, apparently. So
Mhm.
because of that, I feel that eventually solar will become the actual future. Unfortunately, yes, in present day, there's some companies that took advantage of it, and sadly enough, there was some fraudulent activity. But just know that when that happened, there wasn't a lot of regulation. That
Right.
obviously has changed
Yeah. Yeah.
dramatically,
Yeah, the
and
company that sold me my solar panels went out of business, but I'll tell you what, I love solar on my house. I would recommend it to everyone. There's
oh,
definitely some
I
things I
have
wish I
access to
knew.
solar myself, so yeah, and I like selling it because when I sell solar, and I don't try to do this a promotion. This is not planned, I promise. But whenever I do something like this, it was more because I do believe in the future. I actually like the idea of off grid. I like the idea that if for whatever reason there's a power outage, I don't have to. It's not my problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
And hopefully one of these days we don't need the grid. Like hopefully one of these days will be standardized to have a solar panel and solar batteries and literally don't need the grid at all
Right.
because eventually energy will become such an important thing
Commodity.
that the only way it's gonna make sense is by you having your own production
Yep.
down to the individual. Instead of having this humongous factory to make the production for everybody, it makes more sense for you to have your own production for your own needs, exactly what you need. And if you want more appliances, if you want to, I don't know if we're gonna have robot maids or whatever, 40 years from now, but let's just say that's a thing, right? Obviously, I don't want to pay for whatever the heck it takes to charge that thing, you know?
Right.
Let it be
Right.
your problem. You get your own needs, bro. Like, don't make it my problem.
Right.
And don't make it like a tax issue. Like, oh, the freaking, not trying to get political, but like, hey, we decided to solve the issue for everybody by taxing individuals so we can create this pool of money, which that's BS. And then just so we can go ahead and solve whatever no.
Right.
No. So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of solar. I'm a big believer of the energy storage. I'm a big believer of. I'm gonna get so much hate from this, but EVs.
Yep.
I love EVs. I remember when I'm like to this day, I'm still looking for which EV I'm gonna go because right now I drive a BMW, so I'm most likely gonna switch either to a
Right.
Tesla or the BMW i4 or whatever. And what you might call it, I always hate when they tell me it's not a V8. I don't care, dude. It doesn't make
Right.
it like whatever. Like maybe for you, if you want to have a V8, go for it.
Sure.
He's like, nah, man, it's not the same thing. It doesn't make any. It doesn't make that person. I'm like, whatever. Bro. Like I used to be a car guy. Okay, I know what you mean, and trust me, it feels good. I love it. I'm a menace on the road. That's why I don't have road rage because I know I'm the freaking problem. So but I still want an EV. Like if you look at the numbers and the way they drive, like come on, bro. And I remember when Dodge did the Dodge Daytona,
Hmm.
the freaking Dodge
The little
Daytona, they
small
put
truck.
like
Yeah.
a sound system, so it sounds like electric and stuff like that. It sounds cool, and some people give it. I don't know if I've been cursing this entire time. I'm being in a rant,
No.
but some people give it, like issues, like oh no, it's fake like whatever, bro. It's the experience, right?
Right.
So they solve the experience issue, and then you want to complain about it. There's not like what do you expect? It's not authentic. Well, duh. It's not a V8. It's not a V6. It's not whatever you're looking
Right.
for. It's an electric car. That's
Right.
what it is. It has the sound system. I like the idea that I can customize it. That means I can make my car sound like a
However
Lambo.
you want.
Bro, come on. I don't care about whether it actually has a W12 or a B12 or B10 or whatever the heck a Lambo really has.
Right.
I'm probably going to Google it later just to double check.
I think it's a V12.
Yeah, well, B12 actually sounds pretty sexy. I'm not going to lie to you. But like the point is that will be the future, period. Or
Yeah.
maybe hydrogen cars. I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
But all of that will become part of your real estate.
For sure.
All of it.
For sure.
It will become part of your real estate. It will become part of your life. It will become part of your the single family dream, quote unquote, blah 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 blah. Now, before we wrap this up, bro, it has to be part of the episode. If you can give yourself advice on a younger you when you started real estate, maybe 4 years ago, because you've been doing this for 4 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if you can give yourself 4 year you younger, kind of like a mouthful, what would it be?
Oh man, I would say two things really. First thing would be, uh, uh, what was I going to say?
You were gonna give me $10,000 for no reason.
Oh, sure, man. I'll
No,
write you a
just
check
kidding. But
afterwards. Nah, perfection paralyzing. I'm super OCD, and I'm one of those people that I want to make sure that everything is perfect before I move forward, and that has really, really hindered me in moving my business forward. And I've learned to just, hey, you know what? Sometimes you've got to go through the chaos, and you'll grow through that chaos, and then you
mm-hmm.
can kind of work out the kinks on the back end. So don't get paralyzed because you want everything to purpose. Some action done not perfect is better than no action taken because you want it to be exactly perfect. And then just consistency, keeping with it, get up one more time, then you get knocked down, and just staying consistent with it. And then checking your results, and making, little tweaks here and there. If you're not getting the results that you want after you've, done it a certain amount of times and you feel like you should have gotten results and industry standards, dictate that you should have gotten results by now, well, then check yourself, check what you're doing, and make those little tweaks, make those little adjustments, and just keep after it.
Okay, I agree. If anything, I used to face that issue as well. I prepared a lot, perfected a lot, and I felt like if I didn't do it right the first time, I was just gonna like complete mess. Like I can imagine the worst.
Yep.
If anything, I used to imagine the rebuttals of the customer in my own mind.
Yep.
Oh man, I don't like this because the animation looks a little bit like not, 4K 60 FPS, and I'm just like, man, they will definitely care about that. Or it's not directly 1080p, if not, it's 1080i. And I used to care about those small little details, and like 1080i being interlaced, it's not real 1080p. Some guy will notice, and because of that, I didn't get the sale. I will be thinking like that. I don't even know why.
Right.
So I know exactly how you feel. It's a nightmare. But
Yeah.
yeah, if anything, I've learned to just take the second opinion. I used to just like, hey man, what do you think about this? Dude, looks perfect, awesome. I won't even think about anything else.
Right.
Like if I used to ask my friends Matt and the other guys like, hey, look at this post. What do you think? If everything goes well, like the shade, the caption, the hashtags, all of that, like, what do you think about this? And then that's it. If as long as they're giving me, if I get the green light, I try not to overthink it because I know myself, bro, 1,000%.
Yeah, my wife gets frustrated with me because I do that to her. She's my second opinion, so I'll go up to her and, hey, what do you think about this? And I was thinking that this needs to get tweaked a little bit. She's like, I wouldn't have ever even noticed it or thought of it unless you pointed it out. Just go with it.
I mean, honestly, I will go for the individual that's the same industry as you. So I will basically, I don't know if you have a good friends of realtors with
I
the
do.
S.
Yeah.
Well, if you do, I will actually go to them.
Yeah.
For the podcast, other podcasters. For the events, other event organizers. It's like, yeah, man, what do you think about this? And you'll be surprised the insight they can give you because they're in the
Yeah.
same industry as you. So, for example, for the event organization stuff, they normally say, like, I remember one guy says, hey, I actually attach it as a GIF. And then he introduced me to Luma, which Luma is a different version of Eventbrite, but whenever you register, it automatically sends an invite to RSVP to be on their calendar. Because on Eventbrite, you get the ticket, but you have to put it in your calendar manually, right? How many people did I lose not going into, or sometimes you have to download it with a little
Yeah,
logo.
like when they send you the email, there's a little button that you can click on it to download, and it
How
pops
many
up in
people
your
actually don't
calendar.
do that? Because I don't do that.
Yeah,
I manually put it
a
because
lot
I
of people
never.
don't know.
Oh yeah, but I don't know how to do it. Sometimes it doesn't look correct, and it pisses me off. So I kind of like. I also like having my own emoticon and everything. I don't know. Anyways, because of that alone, I much rather go through Luma because I went to that opinion. And he told me like go to Luma. Luma will literally do that for you. So it's gonna increase the amount of people who will show up because it's on their calendar. Some people just forget.
Right.
1,000%.
Yep.
And it has helped. I actually increased my attendees. Not magical numbers, but an increase is an increase.
Absolutely.
It's like the 1% every single day of the year, whatever saying it is, the
Yep.
1%. So, nonetheless, now that we know what ignited the hustle, what kept you in the hustle, and the advice that you give to your younger self, that's basically it for the episode. We're going
Awesome,
to
man.
wrap this up. Now, to wrap it up, if there's anything that you have 30 seconds, anything you want to promote, anything at all.
Really just, hey, use me as a resource. I'm here to help. My website's in development, but it should be done sometime next week. It's yourrealty.org. The reason everyone asks me, why is it a .org and not a .com? Well, .com was taken. But realistically, I did it as a .org because we're here to help. You know, my company is here to help in any way that we can. And if we don't have the answers, you know, I can point you to someone that does. And, you know, the thought process is we're going to help, we're going to get the knowledge out, and then ultimately the business will follow.
1000%. Bueno, I appreciate everybody listening to this episode. If you guys want to reach out to him, I'm going to leave the details in the episode below so that way you guys can have that opportunity. And moreover than that, I appreciate you guys joining Born to Hustle podcast, where we basically learn what ignited their hustle, what kept them in the hustle, and the advice they would give to the younger selves. Other than that, guys, I'll see you next time.
Rohan, thanks for having us.
Likewise, buddy. Likewise.